When credentials replace relationships. A calendar invite demands a new approval, even though everyone in the meeting already knows you. A login prompt asks for another code, even though you just entered one 5 minutes ago. Modern systems trust credentials more than relationships because credentials are scalable evidence that can be audited, while relationships are costly context that cannot be reliably measured at scale. Consider what a large organization or platform must do. It must decide who may access a folder, approve a payment, merge a change, or see a dashboard. The core constraint is scale under uncertainty. When a system has thousands or millions of interactions, it cannot rely on memory, familiarity, or the quiet knowledge of, I know this person. That knowledge does not travel well, does not serialize cleanly, and does not survive turnover. Credentials, by contrast, can be stored, checked, and repeated. A badge, role, token, signature, or timestamp becomes a portable proxy for a person. It is not the person. It is a machine-readable claim about the person. That is precisely why systems prefer it. Now follow the incentive structure. The people who operate systems are evaluated on preventing the visible failure, the breach, the fraud, the unauthorized change, the mistaken payout. Those failures are legible and punishable. A quiet success, where trust is extended wisely and nothing goes wrong, rarely appears on a dashboard. The incentive therefore biases toward tighter gates, more logging, more approvals. The system behaves as designed. A feedback loop forms. When an incident occurs, the remediation is usually add a check, add multi-step authentication, add a second reviewer, add a new access policy. Each addition reduces one class of risk, but it also increases friction. That friction is not evenly distributed. It accumulates on ordinary users and low-risk actions. Over time, the organization learns that adding checks is safer than cultivating judgment because checks are defensible. Judgment is situational and therefore contestable. There is also a trade-off between speed and auditability. Relationships are fast, a message, a nod, a shared understanding built over time. But relationship-based trust is difficult to prove after the fact. Credentials are slower in the moment, more prompts, more waiting, more tickets, but easier to justify later. When the question becomes who approved this, rather than who understood this, the system naturally selects for the artifact, the recorded credential. Notice another constraint. Identity must be stable across contexts. People move teams, roles change, devices rotate, contractors appear and disappear. Relationships are local, credentials claim universality. A credential can be checked without knowing the story. That is the point. It removes the need for story. They relocate it. Trust shifts upward into the issuing authority and the verification machinery, the registry, the directory, the policy engine, the logs. The individual becomes an interface to a set of entitlements. When this works, it enables coordination among strangers. When it fails at scale. This is why modern systems repeatedly ask for proof. They are not mainly suspicious of character, they are constrained by uncertainty and rewarded for defensible decisions. Credentials are the currency that makes those decisions legible, repeatable, and auditable. Identity, under this design, becomes something performed for systems rather than held in community. Attention shifts from knowing people to maintaining proof, updating profiles, renewing access, collecting confirmations, preserving receipts. Responsibility also shifts. When trust is relational, responsibility is mutual and local. It includes memory, reputation, and repair. When trust is credentialed, responsibility becomes procedural. It lives in checklists and logs. Meaning erodes in a specific way. People start to confuse being verified with being known. A credential says, this action is permitted. A relationship says, this person is understood. Systems can enforce the first. They cannot contain the second. When the credential becomes the dominant signal, the self is pressured to become legible, rather than truthful, optimized for what the system can read. No system is neutral here. Choosing credentials over relationships encodes a value, preference for uniformity, auditability, and risk containment. It also ignores a value, the slow, unlogged work of building shared context. The second-order effect is not only delay, it is a culture trained to spend attention on authorization instead of understanding. Consider a single recent moment when you were asked to prove who you were to a workflow that already knew you in practice. Notice what counted as evidence, a code, a role, a timestamp, an approval, a ticket number. Then name what was not counted. History, judgment, context, repair. Examine the gap between being permitted and being known, and what incentives make that gap feel normal. Clarity requires restraint. Credentials can verify access, but they cannot replace being known.